So now we're stepping into the Apology to the Augsburg Confession, article number 14, church order. And what this really gets at, and we covered it a little bit, is, and I'm just going to read this to you. Article 14, in which we say that no one should be allowed to administer the word and sacraments unless they are duly called, they accept, with the proviso that we use canonical ordination. Okay? And this, and I want to explain what this is. So what they're jumping on here is the fact that at the time the Catholic Church said all these Lutheran pastors, because the Catholic Church wouldn't ordain Lutheran pastors. So, I mean, the Lutherans still needed pastors to administer the word and sacraments, so they started ordaining them. And according to the Catholic Church at the time, they were not pastors. So what this is saying is that the Lutherans and the Catholics agreed that you should not be able to preach or administer the sacraments without a call, without an ordination. But they disagreed on what an ordination meant. So I'm gonna take this and we're gonna talk a little bit about what ordination looks like in the Lutheran Church, in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. Okay. And I can speak about this at length because I am ordained, right? I'm pastor. I'm ordained. I don't have it on me right now, but I have a little card that says I am ordained. I am authorized by the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod to administer word and sacrament ministry. Okay, so the core of what it comes down to of what is a duly extended public call is, what has the church agreed? This is what we're going to do. Okay? And in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, I'm not talking about just one church, as a body. We have to we have to try and keep our perspective bigger. As a church body, we have decided that if you would like to be ordained, you have to go through the seminaries. Okay? And there are a handful of ways to do that. There is the traditional residential route. That is what I went through. You go to the seminary, you go for 2 years, you then take a year and you go on vicarage, which is code for pastoral internship. So you go and you kind of practice under the supervision of a more experienced pastor for a year, and then you go back to school for 1 year. So it's a 4-year total, and then you are ordained. You are called and you are sent to a church. So that is how that works. There's also an SMP it's the SMP program through Concordia Seminary St. Louis, where SMP stands for Specific Ministry Pastor, where you have someone who's been serving at a church in a specific way for a very long time, and they can take these classes that are mostly online to turn that into an ordination. Okay. This is really designed for people who have been serving in a church for a really long time, right? It's not meant to circumnavigate the residential route, okay? It's honoring the fact that servants of God are lifted up in the congregations where they're at, and maybe they need a little bit more of that theological education, maybe they need a little bit more of that background, and then they're ordained. And then there's also the CMC program, which is out of Concordia Irvine, which is a school near us, and in conjunction with Concordia Seminary in St. Louis. So we have agreed as a church body, as we walk together, we've said this is what it takes to be a pastor. And if you haven't gone through the process, out of respect for the church that we walk together with, you should not be preaching and you should not be administering the sacraments. The exception being baptisms in case of emergency. Right? If you are in a hospital and there is an infant and they're not going to make it, anyone is able to perform that baptism. So that's a little bit on church order, and what it really comes down to is who is authorized to do word and sacrament ministry, who is authorized to preach and minister the sacraments. So. And that's kind of a practical look. So if you've ever thought about being a pastor, if you've ever thought about doing that kind of ministry, please reach out to me. I love having those conversations. And yeah, If you have questions, if you have comments, if you have concerns, please drop them in the section below. And brothers and sisters, go in peace. Serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.